Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you very much for tuning in to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast live, where I read some of your comments and answer some of your questions that you may have. And of course, I give you the news that involves the New Orleans Saints. And before I get started, I just want to give a special shout out to my brother, Sam Jones. He was on the last edition of the State of the Saints podcast, and he is a military veteran. He served 3 tours in Iraq, and he was kind enough to be a part of the show and talked about, what the flag actually meant to him, and also what he felt about players actually protesting. So I want you all to check that out. It's the most recent episode that I've done of the State of the Saints podcast. So it is available right now on YouTube and also in podcast form on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Spotify. So check it out. Let me know what you all think. Once again, my brother giving his perspective on what he felt about, the flag and players kneeling. But let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. As we wind down, I guess you can call this a little bit of a series. For the last couple of days on the State of the Saints podcast, we have been covering Drew Brees and, of course, his comments and also the backlash and also the transformation and the reconstruction of this whole thing. So we've been talking about Drew Brees for about 3 to 4 days, and I know a lot of people are kind of, tired of the subject, but we just want to make sure that we get everybody's perspective. And I think the last 2 shows that I've done live, for the last few nights where people actually were calling in. Me personally, I think that was really good for everyone because it not only just helped people have a platform, but it also allowed individuals to understand where that person is coming from. And when I went back and I looked at some of the callers and listened to them, I should say, I can really understand how people can have like mixed emotions about things because I think we need to really fully understand that we are all different people. We come from different backgrounds, and the way that we grew up and the way our minds are developed are completely different. And I think sometimes we give people too much of a benefit of the doubt, and we just think that they automatically should know our feelings and our views. And that's why I say it's very important for us to go out here and learn other people's cultures and talk to other people and not allow the liberal media to warp your mind and tell you about individuals, because you not only miss a message, but you also miss out on interacting with some really, really good people. So just want to let everybody know that, and thank you for everyone that called in for the last few live shows that we've done. I want to talk a little bit about Drew Brees once again because Drew Brees actually made a phone call, and this time he made a phone call to Undisputed co-host Shannon Sharpe. Now, if you watch Undisputed like I do, Shannon Sharpe was very critical of Drew Brees once the comments from Yahoo Finance came out. And Shannon Sharpe was very upset with Drew Brees, and he really didn't like the way that Drew Brees was just so cavalier and dismissive and a little bit selfish with his comments. And Drew Brees, understanding this, made a phone call to Shannon Sharpe over the weekend, and they actually talked it out. Shannon Sharpe gave Drew Brees an opportunity to give his perspective, and Drew Brees did the same thing, which I'm so proud that Drew Brees, a man of high character, was able to call on someone that really does have a platform. And whether you like Shannon Sharpe or not, whether you believe some of the things that he does, I mean, he is a strong force in the media world right now. There are over like 10, 12, even 14 million people that watch Undisputed each and every week. So, I mean, that is a strong platform that Shannon Sharpe actually has. So for Drew Brees to actually reach out to Shannon Sharpe and Shannon Sharpe being open to listening to Drew Brees, I think that was a good look. Drew Brees, look, man, we just need to cut this stuff out, okay? I understand people are being mad at Drew Brees. I understand your frustration, especially me being a black man, okay? Me being African American, I understand where his words may have hurt some people. But come on, man, I think we're taking this a little bit too far when it comes to, people sending out death threats, people out here talking about they want to cancel the guy. I mean, look, I'm in no way feel like money solves problems, but I just don't feel like Drew Brees has a racist bone in his body. Now, he can't have a disconnect from what actual society is. I mean, Drew Brees is worth over $100 million, and that's a completely different tax bracket than an average Joe Blow every day. So sometimes some of the situations and issues can, go a little bit over his head, or they might fly under the radar just a tad bit. But as far as like sending death threats to him and his wife and all that kind of stuff, I'm just not for that, man. Brittany Brees, she went to social media and she talked about how her and her husband Drew don't have a racist bone in their body, which I agree. And she talked about them donating money and stuff like that, and how apologetic they are, that they missed the mark and they're open to learning, and that's what we want people to do. I don't understand when people say like, these people, they don't know what they're talking about. And then when a person opens themselves up, say, you know what, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm willing to learn. And you say something like, well, nah, they don't want to learn. I mean, that's what we trying to do. So I think that we need to stop trying to be so dismissive of people and make it like people can't change, or what I'm saying, a situation can't open a person's eyes. It happens. Okay, so regardless of how he got to this point, regardless of if you feel like it's just damage control or not, I still feel like this particular instance is going to teach Drew Brees, because it is a teachable lesson. And us in life, we don't come out knowing everything. We have to learn. We learn through trial and error. We learn from mistakes. We learn from people correcting our mistakes. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. And, if he doesn't change, or you don't see anything that happens from this, then we can be, more critical of Drew Brees. But for us to, signal it out and let him know and inform him, let's give him a chance to make that transformation. So for all those people out there, in my opinion, that was giving death threats to Brittany Brees, I don't know who falls into that category. I'm pretty sure there's nobody that follows this show was in that number, but we just got to move on from it, man. We just got to move on from this, and hopefully this can be a learning process. This show is dedicated to you all. A lot of people, they don't want to call the phones. When I have live shows, they may not want to, be on the show. Want people to know their voice. So sometimes you want to comment and give your thoughts and views about different subjects with the New Orleans Saints. And it don't have to just be about Drew Brees and the flag and all that kind of stuff, man. It can be about anything that's New Orleans Saints, because in a way, I feel like we just need to move on from this and allow Drew Brees to, right the wrongs. If you feel like he did something wrong, let him right the wrongs. Okay, so let's just stop talking about it, beating a dead horse at this point. So we have a couple shows where we focused on that heavily, but with me looking back, it just seems like it's drawing a wedge between the Who Dat Nation. Me personally, I'm not running and shying away from it, because that's not how I roll. I tackle the tough issues as well as the issues that make us happy, because that's what it's all about. But at the same time, we want to have topics that we want to discuss that bring us together, like the Saints possibly winning it all in the 2020 season. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the top. Of course, Jerry Port, my guy, is up first. He says, hey, TJ. Frank says, hope everyone is safe and blessed. What's going on, Frank? Also, we have Darrell Freeman said, death threats are wrong. Michael Roberts says, hey, TJ. Shaq just put out a message that says, don't let the media divide us the way they did his Laker team. He's right. This is about police reform. Got to stay focused and not division blow this up. That's absolutely right, and that's so profound, Mike. You're absolutely right. We shouldn't allow the media to divide us. The media is the type of people that throw the brick and hide their hand. They're the ones that put the fire, that start the fire, and then they run to the fire as if they have absolutely nothing to do with it. And we all know what the media actually does, man. The media just likes to have division. They like to create controversy. They like to, stir the pot, if you will. They do it in entertainment. They do it in sports. And in these cases, they do it politically as well, man. They try to divide us, and they don't want us to actually have these type of conversations. And when you look back, you be like, man, why am I so upset at this person, man? This person, when I think about it, what they did wasn't that bad. And I think Shaq is absolutely right, man. During the time when him and the Lakers were really running, and they were on that championship run, with Shaq and Kobe. It's like, they gotta have a one and they gotta have a two. It's never a guy that's a one and a 1A. It's never guys that just trying to work together. There's always gonna be those comments like, who's the better player? Who got the guys to the championship? Who is the Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan? And then when these players get upset and stuff like that, they act like they have absolutely nothing to do with it. You see it in entertainment, man. Anytime you see a bright star, they always got a person that they feel like is going to be their rival. It's never, oh, these two people right here, they're absolutely stars. We've seen it with Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. We've seen it with Drake and some of these other artists like J. Cole. They tried to draw wedges between these people in order for them to get profit. I think that we need to stop taking the sauce. I think that we need to stop with the BS and realize that the media is playing us, like a board game. I think that they want us to be divided. They want us to not have conversations. I read on the air, I read a quote, and this quote right here, I feel like is really suffice to what's going on. And it says, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak, but courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. We got to stand up for one another, man. We got to realize that the media, is playing us, and we have to have the courage to actually sit down and listen to people's issues, man, and what they and we may not like what they have to say. We really don't. We really may not know. We really may not like what they have to say, but it needs to be said and it needs to be respected. So I think it starts with that and not letting the media divide us and really go to the source and figure out what the problem actually is. James said, hey, TJ, this is prime time. I was one of them at first talking about canceling Brees, but everybody makes a mistake. I feel Drew would learn and have learned. I'm over it. Time to get back to black and gold. Yeah, I agree with that, man. It's time to move forward from that. Everybody, held Drew Brees accountable. He said that he understands that. He said he's going to put work in, and I believe him. So let's just stay tuned. And if you're not happy with the work he put in, then you can say something. Casual Deck says, like I was saying when this started, Drew will redeem himself tenfold, and he will be stronger and smarter because of this. I honestly believe it will make a stronger bond and brotherhood. I agree with that, man. I think that it will make the team stronger. I think that this was a learning process. I think these guys are going to rally behind each other. And like I said on the last show, I'm just so happy that these guys actually have other leadership inside of the locker room outside of Drew Brees. And I seen an article that was written a couple days ago, and they said that the Saints have really good leadership once Drew Brees retires. And I believe that because the Saints are going to go through some growing pains, man. Regardless to who is the next quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, they're not going to be playing on the level of Drew Brees right away. It's going to take them some time, and it's going to take some guys to rally behind one another in order for them to keep the ship right, So I think that they have a lot of good leadership. I think Demario Davis is a good leader. Cameron Jordan is a good leader. You got Malcolm Jenkins back for at least another 3 years. He's a good leader. Emmanuel Sanders is a good leader. And you have all these other guys that are growing up and becoming leaders, like a Lattimore and like other guys on the defensive side of the football as well. So I think the Saints have a good core of leaders that can really right the ship. And if the Saints have to change up offensively, being more run dependent and not counting on that quarterback to throw the ball all over the place when he first gets the opportunity to start post Drew Brees, I think they'll be okay. I think they will have a really good team. And I'm just looking forward to seeing this, okay? But I'm just happy because I feel like what Drew Brees said, those controversial words in a bad locker room would have drew a wedge between the team, and the team probably would not have been as successful. If one of those teams that wasn't really didn't have a strong base, or if it was like the team back in 2013, 2014, where you had a lot of guys pouting in the locker room, locker room cancers, I don't think that they would have been able to weather the storm. So luckily you have good guys in the locker room with a good camaraderie and, good chemistry that they'll be able to get through this. So I'm happy for that. GR3 says, hi, TJ. With the possibility of a season with limited to no fans in the stadium, more than likely, how would this affect our record? Do you think without a dome field advantage, we will win the same amount? GR3, that's a good point right there. Thank you very much for your question. And to be honest with you, absolutely. I think that the Saints will still be one of the best teams in the league. Now, I'm not trying to dismiss the Superdome. I'm not trying to dismiss the dome field advantage and a loud crowd, but the Saints on paper as well as on the field, I feel like are a very talented football team. And if you can play, then you can play. Okay, and regardless if the crowd are cheering for you as loud as they possibly can or not, you have good guys on your team and good chemistry, you'll be able to win some games. I just think that the Saints will actually win games based off chemistry alone. A few of those games are going to get them through because they do have chemistry. Now, there are going to be a couple games, and looking at their schedule, it's going to be tough, man. And it's going to be, mano a mano, man to man, like who is better. And if you look at the Saints and their leadership and their quarterback play and also the offensive line and some of the leadership on defense, I think that the Saints are just better than some of the teams that they're going to play against. It's just one of those things, like if we're playing without fans, you still got talented guys on the team. And, there's a part of the game that is going to be missed. I'm not going to lie to you about that. It will be missed. But at the same time, the Saints are still a good football team. And they still have to play. Like we weren't out there playing with them. I know they give us their lip service like you guys were out there with us. No, we wasn't. We weren't out there with them, man. These guys were out there running those routes and catching those passes. And, the fans, being loud may cause some false starts or something like that every now and then. But, it was really them that was actually, doing all the work. So I'm very confident in the team. So GR3, thank you so much for the question. Frank says, I know we want Emmanuel Butler to have a breakout season. Do you think that he will? Frank, only time will tell. All I know is he deserves an opportunity to see. Well, we deserve an opportunity, and the Saints need to show us what this guy has, and they need to know what they have. I know he has all the physical tools, and most teams actually look at this guy probably be salivating over the fact of his size and his wingspan and, his physicality. The only thing about it is one thing I just feel like he just needs to get better with his blocking, and I just feel like he just needs to get a little bit better with his route running. Now, that is going to get you on the field, man. If you can't run routes, I don't care how physically gifted you are, you're not going to make the field. If you can't block, if you can't, teams can't trust you in the running game, then you're not going to be seen. Now, I do think he's going to take a step back in the depth chart, and I think most likely you're going to be seeing him short yardage goal line situations because of his body and his height and his length. It might be helpful. Because, they got Emmanuel Sanders now, you got Traquan Smith, you got some other guys who I feel like Deontay Harris is going to step up. So in my honest opinion, I think he's going to fall like down in the depth chart, and he's going to really have to bring it at training camp. These guys that are on the team, these guys going to have to bring it because you got a lot of guys like Marquise Callaway, you got the guy Johnson out of Oregon. These guys are going to want to play too. So Emmanuel Butler can't just say, oh, man, I had a good training camp last year, and people are like, man, it's my time to shine. You got to come out there and you got to perform because these guys, Marquise Callaway and Juwan Johnson, these guys are going to want to play. And if you're not careful, you might be looking at possibly being cut. There's no possibility that Emmanuel Butler will make the team. We haven't seen enough out of Emmanuel Butler to say that he is, a starter or he will be in a rotation. I have not seen it. And who's to say that these other guys won't step up and play much better than he has in training camp? And another thing, also just in training camp, will you be able to, mirror what you do in training camp in a game? Because that was the problem. He was killing in training camp. I call it the Brandon Coleman treatment. Everybody was talking about how good Brandon Coleman was in training camp and how he was killing the defense and, but when he get into a game, he couldn't catch a cold and 40 below zero. So, Emmanuel Butler is going to have to bring it. That's just my honest opinion on that. Let's see, I had a few more in there. Just want to make sure that I'm not reading the same ones. Okay. Did you see what Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was saying about Drew Brees? Yeah, Gerald, I actually seen that, and I posted it on the State of the Saints podcast Facebook page. Yeah, I saw what he said. I mean, everybody was just emotional at that time. Everybody was just emotional. I think a lot of people were just upset at the comments with Drew Brees, but I mean, that's just the way CJ Gardner-Johnson is. That's the reason why I say eventually he's going to be a leader. I mean, this is a guy that going into his second season and he talking greasy. You know what I'm saying? So usually like young rookies or young guys who haven't been in the league that long, you don't really see them talking that much. I mean, you didn't really see Davenport saying too much of anything. Rankins wasn't saying much of anything. So I mean, this goes to show you that C.J. Gardner-Johnson is a man with his own mind, and he's not concerned about his place on the team. So I mean, that's the type of guy that, like I said, is going to end up being a leader one day because he's not afraid to hold people accountable. And whether you like what he said or not, for him to be as young as he is and actually have the gumption, the huevos to say something like that about a all-time quarterback, an icon, and a future Hall of Famer, I mean, it says a lot. So, I mean, I don't want to say I agree with him, but at the same time, he did. I mean, for him to say that took a lot of guts. Hey, TJ, with the possibility, oh yeah, I think I already read that, did I? With the possibility of a season with limited, oh yeah, I already read that one about no fans. Rise up, brothers and sisters. We got Archangel in here, man. What's going on, brother? Let's see. I already read that about CJ Gardner-Johnson. Thank you for your answer. Great work. Thank you, man, for submitting your question. I appreciate it. What's up, TJ, the host? What's good? What's going on, Joe? That's true, man. Jerry, great. And Ramsey says up. I guess he means what's up. So, like I said, I want to move forward. I want to move beyond this whole Drew Brees situation. I want to move past this. I feel like the whole Drew Brees conversation, feel like we're just beating a dead horse right about now. And like I said, I just want to give people opportunity to speak. That's the reason why I was just taking phone calls. And I just noticed that when a lot of people have a point of view, they just want to be heard. And I think that it was a very productive live that we did over the last couple nights. I really enjoyed it. I went back and I listened. I normally don't really go back and listen to my lives in its entirety. It has absolutely nothing to do with what you all. It's just the fact that I really don't like seeing myself on camera. I mean, I'm getting used to it now because, I have to critique myself and see, how I can become better. But, I thought that was very productive. I mean, we had some people that were disagreeing with each other, but they were respecting people's point of view, and I appreciate that. Ramsey says, I cannot wait for the football season. I'm ready to watch instinct football. With that, we can all look past this Drew Brees situation, let it slip past, and get ready for the next season. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you need to just go ahead and get past this. Do you think Alvin Kamara can return to 2017, 2018 form and progress in the Saints offense this year? Justin, absolutely. I feel like he will be better. I think that with a new contract, I think he's going to put his mind at ease, and I think he's going to be playing much better. Now, I will say that I feel like he was hurt. He wasn't as explosive as he was in previous years, and I feel like we just need to give him an opportunity. I don't want to be one of those people who just look at a guy and he was down one year and all of a sudden we up here talking about he in bust territory. Like, come on, man, this guy has enough skins on the wall. Him coming into the league, taking the league by storm, offensive rookie of the year, always been a part of the NFL top 100. His number, has increased every single year he's been in the league. In my opinion, it's probably going to drop this season. You know what I'm saying? He might be in the 50s or the 60s when the NFL top 100 comes out this year. But nevertheless, he's still a really good football player in his own right, and he's really, really beneficial to what the Saints do offensively. So I do think he's going to get back to form. But I also feel like he's a complimentary back. He's not the guy that I feel like should be the every down back. He's a complimentary guy. And I think that Sean Payton needs to be very careful with his touches, and I think that he needs to utilize Latavius Murray a little bit more. And I feel like that was what was missing last season. You seen with Mark Ingram when he left, but when Mark Ingram was here, Mark Ingram was able to, get most of the grunt work, and Alvin Kamara was a good change of pace back. I feel like the way that the Saints play, I think they need to allow Latavius Murray to get some starts every now and then and wear down the defense, and also just sprinkle Alvin Kamara in there and also give him his touches. So I think that Alvin Kamara is a guy that is ready all the time. You got guys like Latavius Murray and like Mark Ingram style. They're more like those preheated running backs where you got to warm up a little bit and before they actually just take the reins and just completely break down the defense. So Alvin Kamara is a guy, he can just start right away. You can hand him the ball, he probably gonna start off with about 4 or 5 yards. His average did not fall or slip or anything like that. I mean, he was still averaging nearly 5 yards a carry, and he also had his 88 catches. So when you look at everything, the fact that he missed a few games and he still got 88 catches, I mean, that should be very optimistic. I think a lot of people should be very optimistic about how he's going to play this season. So I do think he's going to have a really good season. I think by him being fully healthy, I think that the Saints are going to utilize Latavius Murray a little bit more. I hope they do. And I hope they sprinkle a little bit of Dwayne Washington in there too. I mean, the running game is coming back. I mean, it left for a little while. People were trying to throw the ball all over the place. But the 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens, with their records last season, it showed that the running game is indeed back and you can have success. Oh, yeah, and I can't forget about the Tennessee Titans as well. So if the Saints can actually utilize some of these running backs that they have, I think they'll be okay, man. I mean, they have a lot of talented running backs on the Saints team. It seems like the only person that don't know that sometimes is Sean Payton. Moving on. Who do you think Teddy Bridgewater is going? What do you think Teddy Bridgewater is going to do as the Panthers quarterback? I am kind of curious. You and I are Saints fans. With you, I kind of want to see and make a good career out of himself. You want to see him make a good career out of himself, right, Ramsey? So, okay. What do I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to do? I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have a good, solid season with the Carolina Panthers. Look, man, Teddy Bridgewater has never wowed anybody with his arm, and he has not wowed anybody with his athleticism. I mean, I've been watching Teddy Bridgewater since he was at Louisville. I remember when he was up for the Heisman. I remember when he had Louisville out there in the Sugar Bowl, playing against Florida. I remember, when he was out there balling, but he's never been like a super athletic guy like Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick. He's always just been a guy with really good instincts, and he's just been a guy that just made good decisions, man. And, look, I know that we watch a football league. Everybody wants that quarterback that has a 70-yard arm, that has a cannon, that can wow you with his arm strength like a Patrick Mahomes, that can improvise and do great things on the rollout like Russell Wilson. But everybody's not built that way. And just because guys don't have those type of physical gifts don't mean that they can't have longevity in the National Football League. When I look at Teddy Bridgewater, I look at a solid quarterback, a quarterback that I wouldn't have mind being a successor to Drew Brees, because he's a smart football player. He makes really good decisions. He doesn't really put the ball in harm's way, and he's willing to, live to fight for another day. And I feel like when you're doing that and you're not hurting your team, and this is where I think a lot of people are getting it misconstrued. When you have a guy that doesn't really make mistakes, doesn't put the ball in harm's way, regardless if the offense is moving the football or not, and you have a really good defense, I mean, you're going to win some games because this guy is not going to cause any trouble. He's not going to turn the ball over, and it's giving the team an opportunity to stay in the game. So Teddy Bridgewater, to me, pending like these offensive coordinators and his staff, Joe Brady has come in and, have a good game plan for him. I can see Teddy Bridgewater really being a solid quarterback for years to come because he has all those tools, man. He can get the ball where it needs to be. So I think we have to be very, very careful to think that, oh, man, he's just a nickel and dimer. I mean, sometimes there's nothing wrong with nickels and dimes, man. Sometimes, You need those type of quarterbacks that you know that aren't going to make many mistakes. So I think he's going to have a good, solid season with the Carolina Panthers. I think they're going to win double-digit games this season. Hey, TJ, if we win the Super Bowl, do you think it's still going to have the same feeling? Absolutely. You know, man, like if the Saints win the Super Bowl, of course we're gonna be excited. Of course we're gonna be happy. I know I am. I know I'm gonna be happy if they win the Super Bowl. I have no problem. Look, I understand what we're going through right now. I understand the situation with Drew Brees, but man, I'm a Saints fan. You know, I love the Saints, and I'm going to be a Saints fan when Drew Brees retires. So if the Saints just so happen to win a Super Bowl, of course I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be elated because that's what we all want. I don't care what we're talking about when it comes to these social issues. I think we all share the common goal that we want to see the Saints in the Super Bowl and we want them to win. So I feel like it's going to have the same type of effect. We're all going to be happy. We're all going to be satisfied. We're all going to appreciate the effort and the ride to get to that point. So absolutely. Do you think the secondary will finally step up this year when we need it most in the fourth quarter to make stops? Justin, only time will tell with that. Hopefully, I can say that I wish they learned their lesson and they actually get better. Look, man, I think we're a little bit too hard on the Saints defense, and we say stuff like they suck, they not good. They are a really good defense. They have a good defense. They're like a top 10, top 15 defense. And that's what all you can ask for, man. Now, I understand that everybody want a defense like the 85 Bears and the 2000 Ravens and also that Seahawks team back in 2011, 2012. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand it. You know, I know that we all have been looking for a lights out type defense, but being in the middle of the pack is not that bad, folks. The thing about the New Orleans Saints, I think that really is alarming to us. And I think that we probably wouldn't even be saying anything about it if they didn't give up big plays in crucial times of the game. You know, I think that's what we get confused about because they play pretty solid throughout the game. I mean, you don't really see them giving up too many big plays or anything like that throughout the game. It's just, I don't know if it's just the way that they actually play their prevent defense, or I don't know if it's just, the single high safety or whatever like that type packages that run. And I don't know if these guys have good recovery speed. I'm not sure what it is. But I just think that if the Saints can actually clean that up, I think they'll have a really good defense. I really think that the Saints defense isn't as bad as we make it out to be. It's just the fact that they have given up so many big plays and created so many great moments for other teams that we just automatically just come to the conclusion that they don't have a good defense. And I have to say that I don't agree with that. I do think that they need to stop giving up big plays in crucial parts of the game. And I also just feel like, man, you should be smart enough to know that you shouldn't allow anybody to get behind you in crucial parts of the game. And I think that if they were to clean that up, they can get a little bit better, so hopefully we won't have these same type of issues going on. But we've seen this before, man. We've seen this with the Kansas City Chiefs a couple years back. They were giving up big time plays. I mean, teams going to have to learn how to adapt. And I know that it's been a couple situations that this has happened to the Saints, and we're tired of it in the Who Dat Nation. But just give them an opportunity, man. Hopefully this year can be the year. Now that you have Janoris Jenkins, he's more acclimated to the defense. You got Patrick Robinson, he's healthy. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson in his second season. He's more familiar. You got Malcolm Jenkins, who's going to be the leader in the secondary. You got Marcus Williams, who I feel like is going to benefit him and C.J. Gardner-Johnson from Malcolm Jenkins being there. And Marshawn Lattimore. I think these guys are going to really be able to click and gel. And I think that a lot of people aren't really putting too much stock, and they should, and Malcolm Jenkins actually coming back to the Saints. I think that a lot of people don't realize how banged up the Philadelphia Eagles secondary was last season, man. These guys were like plug and play. They were getting guys off the street in the practice squad. And Malcolm Jenkins was like the only standing starter out there. He was the only guy that was out there that was a part of that starting rotation. And he was the guy that was calling out different assignments and getting guys in place and telling guys what to do. And, the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, they bend, but they didn't break, and they were able to win the NFC East. So I think when you have somebody like Malcolm Jenkins that can come in and do the secondary, and, somebody has skins on the wall, a guy that has multiple Super Bowls, one with the Saints, one with the Eagles, and also, what he has done, outside of football. I mean, he just automatically comes in with skins on the wall as well as respect. So, guys are going to listen to him, and he's going to make sure that those guys are in place. And he's going to also, demand excellence in front of the secondary and a level of intensity. Intensity that I don't feel like he had when he played for the Saints, but he developed when he played for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think that's really going to be beneficial to the Saints, no doubt. Keep up what you're doing with your show, man. TJ, keep it going. Ramsey, thank you so much, man, for the inspiration. And Adriana says, we are such a perfection expecting fan base, but that's what makes us so passionate. Yeah, I mean, that's true, Adriana. I mean, the truth is, if you've been a Saint fan past 2006, I mean, you understand that this team used to suck. And I mean, I just want people to understand that, man, because I think a lot of folk, we understand like the hardship of the New Orleans Saints when they just used to actually win a game. When they used to actually win a game. Okay, like we used to just be happy and jumping on the couch. But now it's the fact that they're so good and they have been one of the best teams in the NFL for about 14 or 15 years. We expect excellence because we don't want to go back to those dark ages. We don't want to be sitting on the couch and saying that the Saints are going to lose and how many points they're going to lose by today or if they're going to be able to cover the spread. We don't want to be like that. We want this team to be successful. So it just hurts even more that they are good and they can't get over the hump. So I do agree with that. We do demand perfection. We do. But I think sometimes we have to remember, man, where we came from as far as a fan base. But I understand we don't want to go back to those days. No, it's not bad. We just need to set the edges on the pass rush. Yeah, I do believe that. Sometimes the pass rush goes missing in games. P-Rob should be cut. I'm kind of on the fence with that. I do feel like he needs to be cut due to the injuries. But when he is in the game, he plays pretty solid as long as you don't put him on the outside. But before Drew Brees, there was Bobby Abel, John Forcade, Billy Joe Hobart, Billy Joe Tolliver, Aaron Brooks. Let's appreciate Drew's game and send him outright. People forgot how bad it used to be. I agree with that. I agree with that. And a lot of people probably don't remember how bad it used to be. Look, I think when people say, man, fans of fair weather, and they be like, man, you're a fan since 2006. If you look back, that's still a long time, man. That's still 15 years that you've been dedicated to a fan, to a team, I should say. Now, I will say, like if you're a grandstander, what I'm saying, if you're one of the people that's just a bandwagon hopper, I'm not for that. But I think that we have to remember, man, this team used to have some hot garbage out there at quarterback. And they used to have some hot garbage at wide receiver. And these guys were not that good. And they could not catch a cold and 40 below. You know what I'm saying? They could not catch a cab in New York City. These guys were not that good. You know what I'm saying? They did not. They played pretty solid defense. Of course, you know about the lunch bunch with Norman Hand, Joe Johnson, Leroy Glover in them. But, during the mid-'90s and stuff like that, man, this team was straight up hot garbage. And I will say that, they are the main reason why you can hear me from 2 to 6 on 90.9 in South Carolina. Because that was the only way I was able to catch Saints games was on the radio. So I was able to enjoy Jim Henderson and Buddy D and Frank Davis and all those other guys that they made me fall in love with broadcasting. So, I mean, there is a plus when it comes to my life. But at the same time, man, I do have an appreciation now that they are winning. But, I mean, like Mike said, man, they had some trash. Straight up trash. No disrespect, man, but man, them guys weren't that good, okay? They weren't good. We used to just get guys that basically were, cast-offs from other teams. I mean, we, every now and then we'll probably get a guy that has some credibility, but most of these guys, man, they weren't that good. They weren't. So I think we all need to remember that. But we also need to appreciate what we have right now. Now you forgive Drew, huh? Easily fooled. I don't know what that means. He said, now you forgive Drew Brees, huh? I don't know if you're talking to me, Jay, but I never said that I had an issue with Drew Brees. I thought I had an issue with what he said, but I didn't say nothing about, forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? I also acknowledge the fact that, who am I to say that who should forgive him or not? Should I forgive him or not? Because we all make mistakes. So I don't know. I don't know if you're talking to me or someone else on that. So I don't understand that, but hey, man, that's your opinion. 1513 is the year the first black man came to what is now America. His name was Juan Griddio. Okay, 1513. Thank you, and thank you very much for that. Do you believe if Sheldon Rankins and Marcus Davenport stay healthy, the Saints will win the Super Bowl? Yes, I do. But you also have to keep account that they have other guys out there that do have to do their job too. But it would help if they were there. Davenport is still a huge question mark for me health wise. Yeah, health wise, but not on the field. When he's on the field, he contributes in a big way, just not in a way that we normally would expect from a defensive end. That's the issue right there. So I think that we have to understand that guys have to develop. Everybody's not going to come into the league being an elite pass rusher, but for what he does, in other ways from a defensive end position is really good. I mean, he sets the edge really well. He gets tackles for loss. He just needs to get better when it comes to his technique at getting to the quarterback. From 1 to 10, how confident are you that Alvin Kamara is going to remain the same for the foreseeable future? I'd say about an 8. I give it an 8. I mean, you can't say a 10 because you never know, man. It's just the NFL. Contract negotiations break down all the time. But I do think the Saints have enough respect for him, and they also value him enough for them to try to get a contract negotiation going. Now, I do feel like if they don't have a contract by training camp, he is going to sit out. He's probably going to hold out. I do believe that, but I do think they're going to get these negotiations done, and he'll be back by the end of training camp. Good afternoon, TJ. What else is needed for us to succeed? Well, first off, we just have to finish games. That's the number one thing. I think that the Saints need to finish games. They need to learn how to finish strong. They need to stop with the self-inflicted wounds. They need to start really, putting their foot on the throttle, and keep on going. In games, I feel like they need to work on their time of possession. I feel like they need to stop throwing the ball all over the place. When incomplete passes take place, they stop the clock. It also gives teams opportunity to get back in games. And most importantly, I feel like they need to implement the run a little bit more because that helps with time of possession. And also it helps the defense to stay relatively not burnt out, I should say. Just not burnt out. I just feel like they need to focus on that, man, because you keep on throwing the ball first, second, third down, defense keep on running out there, they're going to get tired. So the running game can kind of help the defense stay on the sidelines, get some Gatorade in them, getting them electrolytes going, and they'll be back out there for the next series ready to make a stop. So those are the things I think they need to focus on, and hopefully they can do those things and stop doing some of the things that have been causing them to be eliminated from playoff contention or eliminated from the playoffs completely in the past. TJ, what do you believe are missing pieces for the Saints to win the Super Bowl? To be honest with you, I'm going to just be honest. I feel like the Saints are a complete team. They're complete enough to actually win the Super Bowl. I think we forget sometimes that this was a 13-3 team. This team was 13-3, and they weren't playing no basement dwellers. You know what I'm saying? They won a division. So when you win a division, you're supposed to play a first place schedule. So they went 13-3. Once again, like I said earlier, I just think that we think that this team has so many issues because for the past couple years, it's been the same old song and dance. The team played just good enough to lose, big plays being given up, okay, in crucial situations and big time games. So this has been the reoccurring situation. So we man, what do they need to do to fix this? Who needs to go? Who needs to stay? They were 13-3. Look, the problem is, once again, is the fact that they give up big plays in crucial moments of the game. It has absolutely nothing to do with their defense. In the first half of the game against the Minnesota Vikings, you know what I'm saying, the running back, Dalvin Cook was out there having his way, but in the second half, man, they shut him down completely. Okay, I mean, you still have guys that can play sideline to sideline from the linebacker position, like Demario Davis, Kiko Alonso, and Alex Anzalone, man. And so I think that we are missing a huge point here. I think a lot of people are getting, the Saints needing help misconstrued with the fact that they're giving up big plays at the end of games. And I said this before, I said this last night when I was I was on a podcast with my brother. I said it's like if you're driving, you have a 1 hour driving commute from work to home, and you have 59 minutes and 57 seconds of good driving, and all of a sudden you crash into a fire hydrant. All that good driving that you did leading up to that point being close to home is completely irrelevant because your car is totaled because you hit a fire hydrant. That's the same way with the Saints. The Saints can play solid defense all game long. You know what I'm saying? They can play really good defense, but then all it takes is just one player to get behind Marcus Williams, or one player to get behind Lattimore or Jenkins, and all of a sudden, we're talking about how bad they played, or I can't believe they lost this game, or this guy needs to go, that guy needs to go. That's just facts, folks. I mean, that we are pretty much programmed to really focus on the now. We don't really focus on a complete body of work. And sometimes there's no fault of ours because, sometimes, when we're watching TV and stuff like that, they tell us, oh, this was the moment that killed the game. This was the moment that this was the reason why they lost. And, so I just think that they're pretty much a complete team. To me, I feel like they're complete enough to win it all. They have an elite quarterback. They got an elite running back. They have an elite receiver. They have an elite linebacker. They got elite cornerbacks. They have an elite defensive end, in Cameron Jordan. So they got elite players on every level. So most teams don't even have that. Most teams don't even have that stuff. So I think we need to understand that too. Think about this. I think we all can say, if we look back over the past 3 years in not in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, we can point to one particular play that cost us the game. One play, and most 9 times out of 10 it has something to do with the defense, for the exception of 2018, where that was just a ridiculous 9 call. But we know that Marcus Williams missed the tackle in 2017. We know that it was a controversial 9 call in 2018, and we know that about P-Rob getting beat by Adam Thielen in 2019. So and also P.J. Williams, getting that pass caught over him by Kyle Rudolph. So it's been the same type of reoccurrence, man. But what we don't really be focusing on is how well the defense played leading up to that point. It starts and ends with Sean P. Stop being cute late in games. Saints don't know how to close. I agree with that. He overthinks himself. That's a combination too. Sean Payton overthinking himself. I'm telling y'all, man, he has a lot of Marty Schottenheimer in him. Marty Schottenheimer was a really good coach, but when it came down to crucial situations, he has brain farts because he overthinks himself and he doesn't trust himself and he doesn't trust his team. Do you think we can have a top 10 defense assuming we can stay healthy? What is the biggest hole we need to fill in order to get to the top 10 defense? I think you said it, Cedric. I think it's the fact that all guys need to stay healthy. It's just the fact that these guys can't stay healthy, can't stay on the field collectively. If they did, then I feel like they would have a really solid defense. I think they can be a top 10 defense. The problem is when you have to get guys that are not part of the starting rotation to play, and they're mostly role players, and they're coming in and they have to have a majority of the snaps, and their body's not immune and accustomed to it. I think that's the issue. If the Saints can keep all the guys on the field at the linebacker position, at the defensive line position, in the secondary, and also offensively, I think that they can win a lot of games, and I think they will do enough to make it to the Super Bowl. But the problem is, man, when the defense starts to cook, when these guys are really starting to play lights out, there's always an injury here to a very important position, to a very important player to contribute to the success of the team. And the next thing you know, you're getting guys off the practice squad, guys that probably wasn't even on the team playing in games. And these guys aren't coached up, and they don't know the defense or the offense well enough to go out there and perform at a high level. So if these guys can work together, yes, I do believe they can be a top 10 defense because these guys are really good, man. Sheldon Rankins is one of the best defensive tackles in football when he's healthy. Davenport is a really good run stopper right now. And who knows, maybe some techniques that he has found in this offseason and also through rehab and stuff like that. He's probably building up his strength in his lower body as well as his upper body. Who's to say that this might not be the breakout season for him where he finally gets double-digit sacks? So if these guys can stay healthy collectively as a group, yes, I feel like they have what it takes. Me personally, once again, I do not feel like there's really any holes that the Saints need to plug in. I mean, of course, some rookies, young guys come in, they can contribute, but the Saints, once again, went 13-3, and you do not blow up a team that was 13-3 for the last 2 seasons because of a few bad luck plays. Iceman T, what's going on? And he says, but TJ, if this keep happening, maybe the defense is overrated. I disagree. You cannot look at 1 or 2 plays at a game and just say that a defense is not good. That's just not a good look, in my opinion, Iceman. We can't just say just because they give up a play mean that player not good or that defense not good. They just give up a play. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, if Marcus Williams would have made the tackle on Stephon Diggs, would we have been talking about this defense being bad? If the Saints would have made a stop on the Minnesota Vikings, let's just say if they would have forced that fumble on Dalvin Cook and they would have returned it for a touchdown and won that game, will we be having this conversation right now? We would have said, man, the defense playing pretty good. So it's 1 or 2 plays that stops us from even saying these things. We can't say that, for the last 5 weeks when Drew Brees was out there playing lights out defense, that was the same defense that went to the wild card game against the Minnesota Vikings and lost. So there are always going to be 1 or 2 plays. I mean, it's like they say, you know what I'm saying? There's a fine line between hero and a GOAT. You know what I'm saying? One missed field goal, you know what I'm saying, make you the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? A couple inches can make you the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? And I mean the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? A couple inches can make you a GOAT by missing a field goal. A couple inches inside can make you the GOAT. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm not saying they defense bad. I just think they give up big plays and just, man, crucial moments. So I can't say they're a bad defense on that. What do you think we need more, edge rushers or a quality defensive back? I think that you can never have too many pass rushers. Defensive backs, I'm kind of good on what we got right now. We have an edge going into the season, like you keep saying, because of chemistry. Yep. TJ, do you believe the Saints are out of the free agency sweepstakes for guys such as Everson Griffin or maybe Clowney? I'm not a believer in Marcus Hunt and Davenport health in January. I don't know if they're out the sweepstakes, but I do know this: the guys that you are naming, these guys have history of health issues. When it comes to Everson Griffin, it's mental health, and when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney, it's physical health. And right now, I think that coaches have reported to the facilities, like people like Sean Payton actually come and work in a facility, and then next week is going to be his assistant coaches. And I'm not sure about how they're going to do with free agents. I think you're going to see the pickup of free agents happen in the next couple of weeks. These teams want to be able to look at guys and actually get their doctors to give these guys physicals. When it comes to Everson Griffin, if you're interested in him, you want to make sure that he's right mentally, okay? And when it comes to Jadeveon Clowney, who has a history of injuries, you want to make sure that he is okay physically. I mean, when he was with the Seattle Seahawks, he did miss a few games due to injury. So we got to keep that in mind. And you want to make sure that, you want to make sure that you're not purchasing a lemon. I mean, we all know about those lemons, right? When you go to a car dealership, They got that nice blue car all waxed up, got the turtle wax on it. It's shining like new money. You know what I'm saying? The rims are, you can see your reflection in them. And then all of a sudden, you hit the keys, you start it up, and all of a sudden that thing just start coughing at you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know what it is, man. At them dealerships. You know what I'm saying? Car look like Tarzan, but it run like Jane. You know what I'm saying? Like, no offense to any of my female viewers out there. That's just a saying. But y'all know how it go, man. So they want to make sure if you purchasing, investing in a guy, I should say, you want to make sure that that guy is going to give you bang for your buck. So I don't think that they're out of the sweepstakes, but I think that some of the guys that are still out there are some unanswered questions, man. That's why the reason I feel like Cam Newton is still out there. I mean, you had shoulder surgery, you had knee and ankle surgery. I mean, they want to make sure that they're looking at this guy, and they want to make sure that their doctors are looking at him, not other doctors, that the players select. I mean, these other doctors may give you a prognosis, and if the team be like, okay, I trust that, and the next thing you know, you break down after 2 weeks. And that team is out of the money. So, they want to be careful. So I don't think they're out of the sweepstakes, but they just want to be smart about it. Robert says, if without chemistry, we can hit the season running and start off fast, we can take control of the NFC South real early. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that, Bobby. Keen Arthur says, TJ, I think if healthy and most importantly disciplined when it comes to technique, we have an elite defense. I do think we need another cornerback, number 1 or 2, as insurance for Jack Rabbit and Lattimore. I agree with that, Keen Arthur. I mean, you can never have too many defensive guys that can actually rush the quarterback, and also defensive backs to actually be in that rotation. But I just think that the Saints need to get away from the whole skill role-playing type guys. I want to see cornerbacks and guys in the secondary that can be multi-faceted. That's what I want to see. I want to see guys that can rotate. I want to see guys that can actually play inside as well as the outside. I think that kills the Saints when it comes to depth, when it comes to the secondary. Now, they have a bunch of guys that can play in the secondary. The problem is these guys can only play one position. It's rather they can play in a nickel or they can play on the outside. You need guys that can be multifaceted, that can play on the inside and outside. That way, if a Lattimore or a Jenkins gets hurt, you can have a guy that can come in and replace them, and you don't have to worry about, he played nickel the majority of the season, we can't put him on the outside. So I know a lot of people don't like this person and probably glad he's gone, but Eli Apple, I wouldn't have been mad if the Saints would have brought him back and put him in a nickel, because he would have been able to be big and physical. And if something was to happen to Janoris Jenkins or Marshawn Lattimore, he could have went on the outside, for a couple weeks, to actually, do a pretty decent job. I think that Eli Apple is going to be pretty decent for the Carolina Panthers. And I think that if he would have been a nickel corner for the Saints, I think they would have had a good, solid player at that position. I'm going to take one more. It says, TJ, do you think the Saints could sit Marcus Davenport and Sheldon Rankins 2 games before the playoffs, since that's where they usually get hurt? Joe, to be honest with you, man, I look at this 2 ways. One, you can sit them. Let's just say, for example, if the Saints already has everything wrapped up, they already wrapped up the South, they already wrapped up seeding, then they'll be able to sit. But under no circumstances, if a guy is healthy or healthy enough, because everybody's pretty much banged up around week 16 and 17, if these guys can play, then you let them play. And especially if it's, something on the line, you definitely want them to play. You want your best players to be out there on the field. Now, I understand your concern, because over the past couple of years, these guys have been injured, and it would be nice to see these guys actually play in the postseason. But I'm not going to say that these guys need to have some load management going on. That's not what these guys get paid for. And I'm pretty sure if these guys got any respect for themselves or respect for the team, they want to be out there. You know what I'm saying? No way, if I'm a player, and I may have a history of being hurt and I'm playing and I'm healthy, this season, and somebody say, I want you to sit down, I'm going to be like, hell nah, I want to play. I mean, I want to be out there and play for my brothers. I don't want to be sitting down and saying I want to rest for the postseason. You know what I'm saying? I want to be one of the reasons why we make it to the postseason and have good positioning. and being able to win some games for my brothers. So I don't think they should do that, man. I don't think that would be a good idea. That's not a good look. I mean, you get paid to play, okay? And if you can't play, then take the field. But I want to say thank you all for taking a part in today's live edition of the State of the Saints podcast. And if you have any questions, you might have not had questions during the live, and you might say, man, I should have asked them this. All you have to do is hit me up. You can email me at stateofthesaints@gmail.com, or you can go to facebook.com, search the State of the Saints podcast, and inbox me. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel. If this is your first time checking out the State of the Saints podcast, I really do appreciate you. Thank you very much for taking your time out to check it out. And hopefully this won't be your last time. So please subscribe. And also for those that already have subscribed, thank you all so much. You can like and share this video if you want. And also, if you are on the go and can't get an opportunity to check it out on YouTube, it will be available on audio form. You can check it in podcast form, State of the Saints podcast on iTunes, also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as other streaming outlets. You can check out the State of the Saints podcast, and if you have Alexa, you can use that as well. All you have to do is say, hey Alexa, play the State of the Saints podcast, and it will play the most recent episode for you. So thank you all very much to those that check out the audio form. And once again, if you have not already, please check out the interview that was conducted. Well, I conducted with my brother Sam Jones. He was a military vet. He served 3 tours in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom. So he was talking Saints with me on the last episode, which I really enjoyed, man. I really enjoy, just talking to my brother, getting his perspective on a lot of these issues, as well as New Orleans Saints news. So y'all check it out. Tell me what you all think about it. And also thank you very much for your time. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?